Hi guys, and welcome to the first AOD Fitness podcast. The title of this episode is the 2020 Open with AOD head coach Adam Roth. So before we get started, just give you a quick summary of what to expect on the podcast, and that's going to be basically a discussion about the 2020 Open, the format, do we think the Open's a good test of fitness, movements that we can expect to see in the Open, participation and standards of the Open, is it worth redoing workouts? And then we'll finally go on to talk about the AOD competitor program and Team AOD on their venture to try and get to Norway. So basically, I better introduce our guest. He is a good friend of mine and business colleague, Adam Roth. He has a degree in physics and sports science from the best sporting university in the world, Loughborough University. He also has his level 1 and level 2 CrossFit certifications, as well as having booked his exam for his level 3. He's also British weightlifting level 1 qualified. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome Adam. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
No problem.
That's good.
No problem. Thank you. Yeah, I've been practicing that.
Yeah.
So we'll jump straight into it, mate.
Okay,
and what we'll say is, with the 2020 Open coming up, what are your thoughts on the Open as a test of fitness?
Yeah, I mean, overall, for abroad, if you were literally to look at like even Greg Glassman's clarification of what is fitness, work capacity across broad, time and modal domains, I think even as that, the Open really doesn't, there's a lot of things the Open doesn't cover. So I think it's hard to say that, if you place really well in the Open in the world, you're one of the fittest in the world. I think
it's really hard to say that.
Yeah, I don't think you can, if you come top 10 in the world, I don't think you can straight out say I am one of the fittest in the world, because there's a lot of things that aren't tested. Mm-hmm. That's obviously why it leads into the games and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. As just a broad test of fitness, I think it's good. You can see how much you've improved year on year. You can see how well you're stacking up within those constraints against everyone else.
Yeah, and obviously the Open in itself, even though for the high percentile or the very top percentile, it is a means of qualifying. But for most people, it is just that. To see that improvement across the year of training.
For most people, me included, it's just to test yourself, have a little bit of fun, maybe hit some PRs if things go well, depending on what come up, and just try and enjoy it as much as you can. It's a good benchmark year on year, because a lot of people obviously just go to the gym and just train just for the fun of it and for the health side of things. It's still good to have a goal to look towards. So a lot of people in CrossFit gyms will look to it as almost their competition of the year, so you can still have a sort of goal, which again I think is good to help people stay motivated and train for. Yeah, good.
Well, we'll go back to a point you mentioned just briefly, and about why the Open, although it's a good test of fitness, why you couldn't say if I came 9th in the Open this year, which would be a pretty good going for me. If I said you don't think I can now say I'm the 9th fittest guy in the world. Do you want to expand on that slightly?
Yeah, I mean, if you just look at previous Open years, like they test workouts generally 7 to 20 minutes. So already you're with the inclusion of the odd heavy lift, like max lift, which is actually quite rare in the Open. It's that always in that same time domain.
Right, so between 7 and 20 minutes.
You've got rid of that short sprints, maximal sort of power output, and then you're obviously anything over 20 minutes, which is a massive part of fitness. Anything aerobic and enduring, you can't test either. Then there's a lot of skills you can't test, even just like the things they test at the games, like biking, swimming, stuff like that, like actually being outdoors. You are limited, of course, as to what you can do in a CrossFit gym. You're limited for what you can judge, and really they can make fairly efficient. So I think they do good with what they have. But I don't think you can really claim to be, because they just don't test all bases, which is, they don't claim to in the Open. No, like CrossFit don't claim to test the fitness in the world in the Open, but this is a good starting point, and
the starting point to finding the fittest on Earth.
It's a good starting point. Obviously now you don't need to, you can go through the sanctional route, but still, like, even if you look at sanctions, they have some form of online qualifier, which is effectively the same as the Open. So it's a good starting point to weed out the people who can't do that level of fitness or can't do that intermediate part, because again, you're not going to have those people who are ridiculously good endurance runners or Olympic level weightlifters in the sanctionals or going through to the games and stuff, because again, they can't do that middle part. So I think it's good with what they have to offer. It's the best that they can realistically do.
Yeah, okay, good. And that brings us nicely on to something you just mentioned there. You just said that the sanctional events
Yes.
are going to have their own set of online qualifiers. And this year, it turns out that 4 of the sanctional events are using the Open as their qualifiers. And so I don't know where I was going with that point, which is interesting.
It's interesting. Like, it means it's a little bit easy for them.
Yeah.
I think it kind of takes away from the point of having the sanctionals, though, because it's almost like going back to regional side of things.
Yeah.
But it makes it easy for them as people to run it, and hopefully they get better participation in their sanctionals through doing that.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you've entered the Open and you are one of those 1% in the world who want to try and compete in CrossFit, then why not also be like, oh, we'll just enter into Norway, enter into SID, forget what the others are. But so it's a good setup for them to try and get people in and increase their attendance. Yeah.
Okay, good. And sorry, I remember what I was going to go there, and I was basically going to ask about, do you think that the sanctionals format is good? There's a lot of controversy, obviously, in February when everything changed and nobody really knew what was happening. We kind of talked about how Open participation rates were maybe a bit lower in this first Open of the year. What do you think about the sanctions?
Yeah, I think everyone, of course, like with the change, everyone's a bit sceptical because regionals were this big thing. There's a lot of people going towards as a goal. I think it weeded out a lot of people that just wanted that and didn't really know what they wanted in the sport of CrossFit, because they always have regionals that goal. As soon as that was taken away, people who weren't really committed were just like, well, I'm not going to do CrossFit anymore.
Yeah.
So you've got rid of those people now, and now you've just got back to effectively the same participation in the rest of it. I think the sanctions are good. There's a lot of them. A lot of them look really, really good. I think it's hard to keep the standard across sanctionals is the only problem. For instance, I don't know off the top of my head what would be, you have some sanctionals that are just going to be of a lower standard because people aren't going to be able to get there. For instance, ones in South America and stuff like that, people aren't going to be able to travel to, they can't afford to. So you're going to have the ones in like Central America or the ones in Central Europe and stuff. I think are going to be a lot harder to get to and a lot higher standard. But I guess that was always the same as regionals anyway, so there's nothing really they can do about sorting that out. I think they're good. I think they're a good test of fitness. A little bit even more than regionals because these sanctions can test things like long distance running, swimming, stuff like that. The odd object stuff that are regionals. Again, it was basically just a little bit of a exaggerated CrossFit Open
with everybody competing together who was good at the Open.
Yeah. So now at least it offers a little bit more of a chance to test broader things. You'd hope that the pool of people who end up at the games through sanctionals are fitter or are better through winning their sanctionals.
No, that's interesting because there are obvious draws to some competitions, like Dubai Fitness Champs has massive amounts of money, prize money, doesn't it? So if a lot of people are going to go over there. I know Wadapalooza's extremely popular.
Yeah,
I'm not sure why.
I think just the setup.
The setup, right? Yeah,
it's really good. Yeah.
So that's interesting. So we'll move on to talking about open movements. Normally, I'm not sure for how many years, you'll know better than I. For the last X amount of years, they've introduced a new open movement. So last year it was strict handstand push-ups, is that right?
Yeah, strict handstand push-ups.
And then we've had things like handstand walking, and I'm sure there's been introduction.
Then it was all the dumbbell work.
Right.
Dumbbell stuff was new.
And so basically I was getting to the question of, do you think there's going to be a new movement this year? And if you had to put your money on something, I know you can't, it's hard to say, right? Yeah. But maybe top 3, what would your top 3 guesses be for the Open this year?
So yes, the last 4 or 5 years they've introduced a new movement. I think new movements now are getting harder and harder because I think there's a level, like there's a point we get to where really like without going mad high skill, you can't really introduce new skills. There's also a lot of movements you can't do just because of judging standards.
Right.
That's the issue with a lot of stuff. I think like 2 dumbbell movements, as in like dual dumbbell thrusters or devil press, stuff like that, they could do. There's a likelihood of that, but also I think that makes it quite hard to judge. So if I was to say top 3, I think top 3. Some form of 2 dumbbell movement. So previously the only one we've had is dual dumbbell front squats.
Okay.
I think you could have like dual dumbbell snatches, dual dumbbell clean and jerks, or maybe pistols. Would be a one
pistols.
That is, a higher skill movement they could introduce.
Zach George, eat your heart out.
Yeah. Again, it could be, but as well, I think they've gone away from a little bit with the strict handstand push-up movements and the handstand walk. It's like finding that line between testing people to PR in the Open. So people that haven't got a strict handstand push-up might have done that last year, which is awesome. People who've never handstand walked before might have got there before and got some handstand walking, which is great. I think the same could happen with pistols. So it's as long as it's programmed right and it's not someone doesn't get a single rep in a workout because pistols is the first thing. I think it's a good thing that could,
because there's me sitting here saying I'd love strict ring muscle ups to come up, but really that's
99% of the population can't do strict ring muscle up, and if that's even if it's one of those skills that a lot of people aren't even going to be able to get anywhere close to, it sort of, you alienate a lot of the population. I think with the side of CrossFit's going down, it's more community and health route.
Absolutely.
You don't want to do that. You don't want to alienate a lot of the population. You want to try and make it as inclusive as possible. So that's why I think something like a dual dumbbell movement is a little bit easier to have in there. We also doesn't necessarily need to be a new skill. I think there's a lot of movements that haven't been shown for a while, like even just overhead barbell walking lunges. They were in, I think, 4 years ago now, and they haven't been in since then. So you could see
with
a
the
return
burpees and the chest bar, right?
I think that could be a movement that comes back.
Definitely.
Yeah, so
definitely. For the record, my money and prayers are on strict pull-ups coming
pull-ups.
up.
That would be fun.
Just
and
because
bench.
I like
strict
pull-ups and bench. Yeah, absolutely. And then I might qualify ninth in the world.
That,
we'd be fine. We'd be just fine.
Do you want to go over the other movements then, like your
other movements?
Yeah, because a lot of, obviously we can talk about the movements that you know that are going to come up in the Open.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Every single year, you know it's going to be double unders, some form of muscle up, whether it's ring or whether it's bar.
Last year was just bar though.
Just bar, so you'd assume ring muscle up sometimes. Toes to bar, thrusters, and then chest to bar. Yeah. So you know that if you're going towards the Open, any CrossFit gym who's doing their programming towards the Open is going to have those movement skills.
Definitely.
You know they're going to be in. Then you've got ones that are in almost every year. Things like wall balls, some form of snatches, deadlifts, burpees, rowing, some form of box jumps, some form of cleans, and then those are the main focus. Also, those just fundamental CrossFit movements. Really,
you're going to be, if you're going to class, you should be hitting those the variety of those movements every week.
So now, for instance, the last 2 years has been handstand walking. The last 2 years, so maybe that's going to carry on, be more of a staple in it. You don't know. Same as dumbbell movements, obviously becoming more popular. 5 years ago, they weren't in at all. Now they're pretty much every single Open. Again, it's a different element of fitness to test. So there's probably going to be some dumbbell movement in there, whatever variation that is.
Good. That would be good. Now you said about your if you had to put money on it, but personally, what would be a new movement favorite for you?
A new movement favorite
for you, personally, for you to do in a workout. What do you like? What would you like to see?
I would say with you, I think strict pull-ups would be a fun one to do.
Yeah,
good test. Again, because you don't want to go too down that rabbit hole, but you again see so many people going into the Open doing kick and pull-ups and butterfly pull-ups, you can barely do strict. And I think strict is one of those elements that's really, really important in it's another test of fitness.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. It's part of CrossFit's bad rep, isn't it? That gets spread across social media that you see because of butterfly pull-ups, and it is what it is, and it comes down to anything. If somebody's being coached to do something wrong or being told to do something before they're ready to do it in any sport, then it's not going to look great. But it would be good to see strict pull-ups. So Dave Castro, if you're listening to this and you haven't decided on week 5.
I'd also like, you could go down the route of saying I'd love some skier in there, I'd love some assault bike in there. But again, I think that's never really going to happen because it's just too hard to make sure that gyms have
rowing and thrusters sucks just as bad.
Exactly, so you don't need to test that.
Great. So in terms of the standards for the Open coming up this year, now in my head I've got standards written here in front of me, but I don't have to necessarily be movement standards, but also about standards of
people competing.
People competing. What do you think?
I think it's quite hard to say because obviously last year in February, because of the whole new changing the year, and there've been 2 Opens and there were regionals, participation in the Open was down a lot. So obviously people did the Open who were still committed to it, and they placed a lot better generally than they would in previous years. So they've, I'm not say they've assumed they've got better, and they've not, but I think it's hard to say what standard's going to be like because you're going to have more people this year back into the Open. So it's not going to affect the top 5% in the world who are trying to compete, but I think the rest of us is going to maybe shake it up a little bit more. So people should really try and not get disheartened if they maybe this year don't do as well as they did last year.
As in February.
If you look at the participation up, because on average, in 2018 there was 400,000 people in the Open,
right?
And then in the 2019 in February, that was down to 320,000 odd,
Right.
and every other year it had been increasing.
Right,
Steadily.
increasing.
I'm assuming it's going to go back up towards that 400,000 mark, if not more. So it's just that's a lot more people in all those categories.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're looking, I did a little, because I knew you were going to ask me this. I did a little research into some placings for the top men and women in the UK.
Great.
Top UK. So there's certain standards that you need to hit. For instance, like clean and jerk numbers, just one on top of your head. You know that if you want to try and get into that top break, into that top 10, top 15, somewhere around there, you need to be clean and jerking as a man, 140 to 150, as a lady like 100 to 105, somewhere around there. That's based off like whenever there was that max clean and jerk, 2016 I think it was, something like that. I think then if you look at average placings, so 10th place in the men in the UK, they averaged 29th across all of the events, across all 5 open workouts.
Okay, that's
the
interesting.
ladies averaged a little bit better on 24th across all of them. The worst placings, so the worst placing of anyone in the top 10 of the men was 70th in one workout.
70th in the UK.
Yeah,
but still finished
workout.
Within the top 10.
So you know that if you start to fall out of that bracket in even just one event, you know you're going to start falling off. You could even say the women's were a little bit harder, a little bit higher standard, because theirs was 45th, was the lowest placing of someone in the top 10 last year in February.
Wow.
So you'd assume that maybe the women's might be a little bit more competitive than the men's, or maybe it's just more at that sort of high level. I think it's hard to say like exactly what it's going to be, but I think that if you have the days have gone of having one bad finish and one great finish that you can sort of sail through. It's still, you need to be so consistent now across everything. You can't have a weakness anywhere.
Yeah,
as a lot of athletes have seen in February and years before, just one workout can derail their whole open, whole plan.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good. So I'm going to fire a few questions at you now. And if you don't know the answer, that's fine. But basically, I want to ask you, who do you think will win the UK Open in the men's and the women's?
Men's, I think Elliot Simmons and Sam Briggs are probably still up there. If Sam Briggs still does, I don't know why she wouldn't. So I think those two are going to still be up there.
Those would be your choice?
Yeah, those would be my choice.
Fine, absolutely. Sure.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here. Geez. And we haven't pre-planned this at all for anyone listening, but we obviously have a AOD competitor program.
Yes, we do, yeah.
We have individualized athletes as well, who all will be registered and competing for the Open. Yeah. Some trying to go to some sanctionals for team and individual, and a mix. So I want to ask you about 3 of our female athletes.
Yep.
Lois Smith, Olivia Cook and Helen Nutter. Yep. And I want you to give me a guess of where you think they could finish in the UK.
I just don't want to pick who's going to win out of those 3.
Well,
I think with how they've been doing, just looking at their metrics from recent months of programming and tests, good. I think you're going to finish very well.
Good.
I think
confident. I like it.
Yeah. It should be. I think they should be as well going into it. Liv hasn't done the Open for a while. Neither has Helen. She hasn't done last year. So I think for them it's going to be a good tester just to see roughly where they're at. I think both of them should be aiming top 20 in the UK.
Right.
Really, that's where we've sort of got our standards. Not to put them on the spot. But I think Helen even higher, top 10. She should be really aiming towards. Obviously, you say that, but it depends what the workouts come.
It does, but as a general,
people are always going to have those ones they're not quite as good at. But as a general rule, Lois as well. Lois, I'm not really. That's a tough one.
Sure, and I know Harry predominantly coaches Lois, and I do some of her gymnastics work.
But again, seeing some of the numbers and it's like just PR her jerk just the other day, I think again, if the right workouts come up, not even if the right workouts come up, if just based off, you'd be hopefully looking at a top 30 finish in the UK around there. Really,
I agree. Yeah, her muscle ups are coming on really, really well.
Yeah, everything. So there's no glaring weaknesses there on really any of them. So hopefully, we'll have to wait and see. But
good, that'd be interesting.
That'll be interesting. See who wins out of the 3 of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on just from that, on a nice tangent, talking about the AOD competitor program. Yep. That's a program you write. That's a program I follow, and we have a load of people on the program. But basically, just wanted to ask, how is the competitor program going to kind of work around the Open? And what are your thoughts on that?
So I think for all of us, we're going to be doing the Open workout on Friday. I think it makes sense to do it then. Then then on that Friday, we'll have an optional second session. I think depending on, again, what the workout is, you know, if it's a workout with hundreds of front squats in, or, you know, ridiculous amounts of handstand push-ups stuff, something that you're going to be very fatigued from, skip up that second session. If it's something that's a bit more skill limited, not so tough, or more aerobic workout, then by all means hop in that second session. Saturday will be a normal training day of some strength work, some skill work, some conditioning. Sunday will be a rest day. Monday will be a repeat for those that want to. If not, just a normal training day. Tuesday we'll have a double session, so some aerobic work, then a strength session. Wednesday will be a normal day as well, with strength, conditioning, skill work, and then Thursday will be a rest and a recovery swim, or rest or recovery swim. I think, like we've spoken about before, when you have 5 weeks of the Open, a lot of people think just, I'm just going to train through and just do the Open workouts and not worry about actually trying to improve, where I think that's still 5 weeks, you can get better. So that's what we'll be doing. Our strength focus will be on ollie lifting and accessory stuff. No big hypertrophy or anything like that, but still trying to get a little bit stronger where we can. And our conditioning pieces will be low skill interval aerobic work to try and, again, increase that aerobic base. That'll be the same basis for the swimming, like recovery aerobic.
Yeah, as a competitor of the competitor program, I guess. I know there is a lot of high skill practice, and people talk about practice versus training versus competing, right? And I think when you are going to be competing twice a week, effectively, for those that are going to redo, it is important to practice.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the Open starts very unpredictable. You have no idea what the first workout was going to be, but then first workout comes up and you have ring muscle ups, then you can pretty much put your money on that none of the other 4 workouts are going to have ring muscle ups. So you can take that skill away and you can work on chest to bar, toes to bar, barbell cycling, stuff like that. Chest to bar come up, take that one out, barbell cycling, toes to bar, stuff like that again, and it keeps narrowing the field until you pretty much can near enough predict the final Open workout, or at least what skills are going to be in your final Open
people
workout.
are always
so you know
guessing
what to work on, exactly. So at least you can have that extra 2 sessions in the week, Saturday and Tuesday, whatever it is, can be a training day of skill that we can actually try and improve.
Good.
All the Open workouts
and you mentioned then that there's swimming in there, and obviously swimming is not something that's very specific, or obviously is not very specific to the Open. But do you want to talk about why we have swimming in the competitor program?
Yeah, so we have swimming in the competitor program all year round, as just another form of conditioning. I think it's really, really good to improve your aerobic base, get a good workout in that's very low load on the body, so it's not very intense. You're not going to be really sore the next day from it. Don't get me wrong, you can do really intense swimming sessions, but you're not going to be massively beat up just because it is unloaded. For the general population, it's a really good skill to learn as well. Like, I think if you don't swim very often, it's good to always have that in there. Like you said before, as a life skill, effectively.
A survival skill.
Survival skill, So, but it's a really, really good way to actually improve aerobic fitness. And for the elites, it's just exactly the same. Really, really good way to improve aerobic fitness. Variance in the program, so that monotonous running, biking sort of stuff doesn't get so boring. You can actually have a bit more fun in the pool, I think, if it's not something you do loads and loads. And then also because when you eventually people qualify for Sanctions, go to the games, you don't want to be that person who, better go learn to swim now, or take a loss in that event. You want to be able to go in being like, well, I swim once a week now. I'm good at this compared to a lot of people, so I can try and push like I would any other event for a top 10 finish or win, something like that.
Absolutely. For the elite competitor, it's just as important a skill as any.
100%. Yeah. Obviously, you're not going to have it tested as much, but then when it does come up as a sanctional event, like, you don't want it to be one that you just can't do, or one.
And you see even just this year in the games, the Australians just dominating.
Yeah, because they swim all the time. They're say like us, we're an island nation, but obviously they're out in the sea all the time, surfing.
But it wasn't even close, was it? It wasn't even close. Exactly. It's an easy win.
Yeah, and they have maybe, like, I think once you get to a certain level, you don't necessarily need to swim once a week. If you've like me have swam since you pretty much all your life,
you're a dolphin.
You don't really. It doesn't need to be like I need to swim once a week to make sure I do good. Like, if I was to go to a sanctional event, I know that I'd place fairly well in a swimming event. But you still, again, you don't want to place fairly well. You want to try and win.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
If it's a strength, make a strength better. If it's a weakness, work on it so it's not a weakness anymore. Yeah.
Never training to not have a wheelhouse, right?
There you go, exactly.
Good. So moving on from that, Mondays are for redos.
Yes, redos.
Optional redos, and just maybe talk about why you would, why you wouldn't redo, who would and who wouldn't, and what your thoughts are on redoing open workouts.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think if you're there's that divide between elite and sort of the rest of the population. If you're that 1%, if you're the one who wants to compete, wants to try and go to sanctionals, it's a must, I think. Days are gone where you can just go one and done and you don't have to worry about it. I think it's definitely, you have to repeat because you, majority of the time, are going to get a better score.
Yeah.
If you look at someone like a sprinter or like a freestyle swimmer, they're always training for the same event. They know what's coming up. It's very unlikely that they do it on Friday and then do it on Monday. Yeah. They're going to get much of a different score. But if you're training for CrossFit, you don't know what's going to come up. It's varied, so you know that when it comes up in the open, it's probably going to be the first time that you do that workout, unless a repeat from a previous year. So just by purely chance of doing it, just by purely repetition of knowing what it's going to feel like, knowing how your body reacts, knowing what your stimulus is like, knowing where you need to break, where you don't. Yeah. Maybe you went out too hot in the first one, you went and got a bit carried away by following someone. It's a necessity to repeat and try and beat your score. I
know that you want to take it even a little bit further than that because and we'll go on to this now, but you want to be filming the workouts. Yeah. You want to be timing your rep splits, your rest periods, etc.
Yeah, I think you can repeat a workout. I could sit here and do a workout with rowing, toe sparring, wall balls. I could do it again on Monday and get a worse score, get the same score if I've just gone into it and just done it just for the sake of doing it. I think with the open, you have to obviously approach with a set plan. I think if you're an elite competitor, again, you need to submit videos, so you're going to be filming it. So then when you are coming up to your redo, you need to sit down and look at that video. You need to review how you broke it up, how you rested between movements, how you pace things, how you were moving, maybe your technique got a little bit sloppy, and make those changes so you actually don't go into the workout just doing the same thing again, and inevitably just getting the same score or a worse score because you're a little bit fatigued. You need to try and change something. I think as well, again, like if me and you did a open workout next to each other, if I was like, got a bit carried away with the competitiveness and thought, I'm just going to follow you, I'm just going to try and compete, stick with you, that would go terribly for me. It'd be an awful workout. So there obviously is times when it's good to compete with someone, when you're at a certain level, when you know they're on your level, which is a workout that's going to be good for both of you. But also there's times where you need to maybe take a step back and just film it on your own, and just you do it and stick to your own plan. And
you can see how people could get caught up. Friday night lights, atmosphere's buzzing. There's people you've been training with all year and you want to get one up on them in the big one. Yeah. And then before you know it, you've just done 85% of your max chest to bar in the first set and your grip's already blown up.
Yeah, I think, that's almost the fun of the open.
Part of it, right?
For some of those some of the people who don't really care about being elite, for the 99% of the population, me included, it is just to have fun. Yeah. So if that happens, it's not the end of the world. Okay, if you want to try and get a better score, so this is if you're not an elite competitor now, if you want to get a better score, by all means redo it. Like if that's your focus, if you want to try and do better than you did last year, go for it. If you don't really care that much, you're just doing the open for the fun of the open, there's no need to repeat. It's just why not do a bit more fun, different workouts, more fun. Equally, if it's a workout that is going to really, really fatigue you and you're not used to that volume or not used to that intensity of repeating a workout, I think it can affect the next open workout that comes up. At the end of the day, it's 5 weeks, right? It's 5 workouts, so you get burnt out after 3. Those last 2 are just going to be hell. So I think you want to try and do as much as you can and repeat if it's the right thing for you to do. Mm-hmm. On the competitive program, we've had a few times now practicing repeating workouts, doing one on a Friday, doing one on a Monday. So you're used to that intensity, so that when you come around to repeating in the open, it's not such a shock to the body, and you're going to not be fucked up for the rest of the week leading into that second open.
And I think it's worth me saying that out of the 3 repeats we've done so far, the 2 where I sat down, analysed my video, strategized, planned rest times, broke rep schemes up, etc., I managed to beat my redo. Yeah. And the one where I kind of thought, you know what, I remember what this feels like, I'm just going to go at it again and back that I'm better now. I actually didn't do better. So there definitely is a lot more to say with strategy and things like that. So for the final attempt, let's do it. So we've just spoken about the competitive program, about some of the individual athletes that we have. What about Team AOD? What do you think their chances are? They're looking to qualify for Norway and strength and depth in the elite team sanctionals. Harry's had to pull out. That's a little bit of a different story. What do you think the chances are?
Hopefully Harry will be back for the actual competitions, but he's just doing a sensible thing with his knee injury at the moment and not doing the Open, which is good.
Yeah.
Good for him anyway. I think the chances of Norway are really good. We've got a replacement athlete to use their scores, which is allowed for the sanctional team, just team roster, and then switch Harry back in afterwards. I think
it's Matt Fraser. Yeah, we're going to be okay.
Yeah, I think we'll be fine. So I think with that, with the setup and the amount of teams that Norway are taking, I don't want to say it's a sure thing, but I think there's definitely really high chance to qualify for that. Okay, especially with the strength of the girls.
Yeah.
Barring a disaster. Barring a disaster in the Open, I think you'll be absolutely fine. Yeah.
What about there's prize money?
Prize money
for the qualifiers.
For the qualifier events.
What do you reckon? Any chance? It depends what comes up, right?
It depends what comes up. Yeah, I think obviously the strength of Shelley and Helen is one thing, and the strength of you and the other teammate is a completely other, like the complete opposite. So
yeah. You mean as in terms of what we're good at and bad at?
Yeah, what you're good at and bad at. Not bad at.
No.
Strength relative to the rest of the field is.
Yeah.
I think if you had Harry in and there's a max lift in the qualifiers, then potentially there's a chance of a prize somewhere. You know he's going to be trying to gun for a 170 clean or something silly, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty big.
In terms of SID qualification, I think that's another story. Obviously, it's a lot more competitive. Only 10 spots, I think, and 2 of them, whether they've counted or not, 2 teams were already in through winning other events.
Might even be 3.
Being London, a lot of people want to come. It's an easy place to get to. Quite a big competition. It was really well run last year. A lot of big name athletes went.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sarah was there last year. Yeah. Jamie Green. Who else?
Drew Wayman on the
Shrunky, Simo,
Yeah, I think as well, it's got quite a good name for itself, Strength and Depth itself already, from the pairs competition it does and the team origins it does, like a lot of Reebok athletes and weight athletes going to that last year. So yeah, I think we'll have to see. It all depends on what comes up the Open, I think, for that and what the standard is of SID. I think chance of Norway pretty damn good.
So you're feeling fairly confident?
Yeah,
that we'll have a team going out to a sanction.
Yeah.
That'd be great. That'd be really good.
That'd be awesome.
Good experience for everybody. So a few closing remarks on the Open from Adam Roth.
Yeah, I guess closing remarks is going to be, at the end of the day, the Open, you can try and be as prepared for the Open as you want, can't you? You know a lot of the movements that are going to come up. I was discussing like time domain, but at the end of the day, there's going to be curveballs that get thrown in there. It's going to be a little bit of chaos because there always is. Movement standards, some gnarly workouts, so I think it's trying to stay in your own lane and not get carried away with any of the sort of kerfuffle that goes on with that stuff, and just try and enjoy it as much as you can, especially if you're not a competitor. There's no point getting like really into it and like annoyed at anything that happens. You're just trying to enjoy it as much as you can, isn't it?
Yeah, when you say get into it, you don't mean get into it, but not in the wrong way.
Yeah, right? Not in the wrong way. Yeah. No point getting into it and like when people are moaning about movement standards and all that sort of stuff. It's just try and go into it, give it your best effort, and really have fun with it.
Yeah,
is the way to go.
No, I agree. It should be an exciting 5 weeks. So thank you to everybody that tuned in, either via YouTube or on the podcast, and we hope that you learned something and can take something away for your 2020 Open. And good luck to anybody participating. And we will see you next week or in the near future for the next AOD Fitness podcast. Thank you for listening.
Thanks.